never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. It is a hump day Wednesday, so of course it's time for another weekly top 10 countdown. We'll get to that coming up here in a couple of minutes. First, I want to strongly encourage you to go to Prizepix.com and enter the keyword Ref Brandon, because that is your chance to double your deposit up to $100. All you got to do is go to Prizepix.com and enter Ref Brandon. And then I want to say that hopefully everybody had a good Valentine's Day yesterday. I asked my wife last night if she had a good Valentine's Day, and she said, Brandon, I'm married to you. Every day of my life is Valentine's Day. But for everybody else that does not have the pleasure of being married to me, hopefully you enjoyed your Valentine's Day. And I got a request on Monday night for a top 10 countdown. But since I didn't get it until Monday night, I have not had enough time to sit back and ponder on it and think about it. So I will try to do that next Wednesday. I love getting requests. But this week, I figured since it is the official beginning to the NASCAR season, and the reason why I say official is because, of course, 2 weekends ago, we had the Clash out in Los Angeles, but it's a preseason race, so it doesn't count towards actually winning or towards the points. But this weekend, of course, we had the Daytona 500 coming up on Sunday afternoon, so it is the official start to the NASCAR season. It all gets underway tomorrow night with the duels at Daytona. And then, of course, Friday night we have the trucks. Saturday afternoon is Xfinity. And as I said, Sunday afternoon is the Daytona 500. So today we're going to discuss NASCAR. If you've ever been a NASCAR fan, or if you're currently still a NASCAR fan, you should enjoy this video because it's top 10 all-time best NASCAR Cup Series drivers. So it's not just current, it's all time. We're talking about 75 years of NASCAR. And then when I get done, I'll tell you a couple of guys that have a chance to one day be inside the top 10. They are currently still driving. There's a couple of guys that are on the list that are already in the top 10 that are currently driving. There's a couple of other guys that are not quite in the top 10 that are currently driving, but may eventually one day get there. As always, any thoughts on it, please feel free to let me know. Number 10 is Bobby Allison. Now, Bobby Allison won 85 career Cup races, and he won one championship. And you can go to just about any sports website and go to the NASCAR section and click on all their riders. And just about every one of the riders that has done a top 10 all time best drivers is probably going to have 7 or 8, if not all 10 guys that I have. They just may be rearranged differently, but this is my personal opinion. Number 9, Darrell Waltrip. He won 84 career races and he won 3 championships. Number 8 is a guy that has not been retired for too long. He won 49 career races and 3 championships, and that was Tony Stewart. Of course, he'll be up in the booth this Sunday along with Mike Joy and Clint Boyer calling the Daytona 500. Tony Stewart is actually a very, very, very good commentator. He did it last year as well at Daytona, and before he did it, I didn't think I was going to like him because when Tony Stewart was a race car driver, I was a big fan of his driving ability, but I could not stand to hear him talk because he had too many ums and and ah and things like that, and that's just not good commentary work. But up in the booth, he doesn't have a lot of and ah and ooh and He actually just goes out there and talks. So he's actually a very good color commentator. Number 7 is a guy that won 105 career races, 3 championships, and that was David Pearson. Number 6 is the first guy on the list that is still racing. He's won 60 cup races so far, 2 cup championships, and that is Kyle Busch. Now, Kyle Busch will be 38 years old in May, so we don't know how much longer he'll be racing. He's never came out and expressed a desire to race 20 more years, but he's never came out and said, I'm going to retire by the time I'm 40. So really, we don't have any idea when he's going to retire. He's won 224 races across the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series, and that's a record that'll never be broke. Nobody will come close to ever catching that record. Again, 10 through 6, Bobby Allison, Darrell Waltrip, Tony Stewart, David Pearson, and Kyle Busch. Now, of course, Kyle Busch this year is in the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing. It's his first year in that car. He's now driving a Chevrolet after all those years driving a Toyota, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think he'll win at least 3 races this year. Number 5 is Cale Yarborough. Now, Cale Yarborough won 83 career races, and he was the first driver ever to win 3 straight championships. He won 3 career titles, and they came back to back to back. If I'm not mistaken, it was 76, 77, and 78. And he was the only driver to ever win 3 straight championships until Jimmy Johnson did it. Number 4 is the other guy on the list that's currently still racing. He's only racing part-time, but he is still racing. He did retire a couple of years ago. Now he's back. He won 83 career races, 7 championships, and that was Jimmy Johnson. Now, I'm sure a lot of people will have him number 1. I don't. As you can see, I've got him number 4. And the reason he's number 4 is because I watched him in the Busch Series years ago, and he drove that 25 car, and he couldn't win. If you can't win in the Busch Series, you're not the all-time best Cup Series driver. I'm sorry, you're just not. Chad Knaus made Jimmy Johnson. As soon as Chad Knaus left the 48 pit box, Jimmy Johnson all of a sudden didn't dominate anymore. And not only that, but if you go back and look through the NASCAR history books, these are facts, not things I'm making up. When Chad Knaus was Jimmy Johnson's crew chief, there was at least 2 or 3 times a year Chad Knaus was getting suspended for doing something illegal to the race car. So Jimmy Johnson was not any good. Jimmy Johnson was made by Chad Knaus. You look at Chad Knaus, when he was with Jimmy Johnson dominated. But you look at Jimmy Johnson's numbers with Chad Knaus and without Chad Knaus, and he was nowhere near the same race car driver. But of course, now he's back driving part-time. He is a part owner now of Richard Petty Motorsports, which has changed their name to Legacy Motorsports. He'll probably be the primary owner in 4 to 5 years. Number 3, Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon won 93 career races, and he won 4 championships. Now, just like Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon was made by Ray Evernham. The difference was, even though Jeff Gordon did dominate when he had Ray Evernham, after he lost Ray Evernham, he still won 1 more championship. So he wasn't quite as good without Evernham, but he did still win a championship. I believe it was 2001 after he lost Ray Evernham. Number 2, 76 career wins and 7 championships for Dale Earnhardt Sr. And number 1, to me, it's not even close. It's not even arguable. They don't call the man the king for no reason. He won 200 career races, 7 championships, and he still has the record that will never be broke. No way, no how, ain't happening, of winning the most races in one season, and that was 27. Nowadays, you hardly ever see guys win 10 races in a season, let alone 27. As I said, he's not called the king for no reason. Best driver of all time. And just like I said, Kyle Busch's record of 224 wins and counting across all 3 NASCAR Premier Series will never be broken. Richard Petty winning 200 career races in the Cup Series is a record that will never be broken. I don't know if we'll ever again see anybody win 100 races, let alone 200. At one time, it looked like Kyle Busch had a chance to get to 100 career wins in the Cup Series. He's still got a chance, but he has slowed down tremendously the last couple of years. I think he'll get to 75 or 80, but I don't know about 100. And a couple of guys that are still currently racing that are not quite inside the top 10, but may make it one day. One is the defending champion, Joey Logano, and the other one is Chase Elliott. And there's different reasons why they both might one day make the list. And I would hate to see guys like Darrell Waltrip or Bobby Allison fall out of the top 10. But if Chase Elliott or Joey Logano one day get in there, then somebody has to fall off. Joey Logano has already won 2 championships, and he's only 32 years old. So he's probably going to win 4 or 5. But for whatever reason, Logano is one of those drivers that even though he is very, very consistent, and he has been ever since he signed with Penske, for whatever reason, people just do not like Joey Logano. Joey Logano could win all 36 point paying races, and people would still say he sucks. I don't know what it is. If you watch the guy and you actually watch the guy, not going into it already hating the guy, but watch him objectively drive a race car, he is extremely talented. But for whatever reason, people have always hated Joey Logano. No matter what he does, people hate him. So more than likely, most people will never put him inside the top 10 for that reason only, because they hate him too much. But talent-wise, he's great. And Chase Elliott might make it because NASCAR helps him in every way they can. We all know, if you have the common sense of a billy goat, that a NASCAR race cannot be rigged. If anybody ever tells you NASCAR's rigged, just go ahead and punch them right in the nose, because there's just no way, no how. But they can help you, and they help Chase Elliott to the extreme. Because if you're a long-time NASCAR fan, you know that for years and years and years and years and years, they only had two road course races, and that was Sonoma and Watkins Glen. And those were the only two road course races from the time I started watching NASCAR in '96 up until Chase Elliott come along. Why? Because Chase Elliott wins at road courses, and he's so popular that NASCAR wants to help him. So they went from 2 road courses to 7 road courses. Why did they do it? To try to help Chase Elliott win, because he's so popular. He wins most popular driver in NASCAR every single year, and he probably will for the next 20 years, just like his daddy did. When Bill raced, he won most popular driver every year, and since Chase is Bill's son, he probably will too. People love Chase because people loved Bill. And they've gone from 2 road course races to 7 just to try to help Chase Elliott win, because he cannot win on a super speedway. He cannot win on a short track. He only wins at road courses, so they've added 5 to the schedule to help him win. So when Chase Elliott retires, he's probably going to have a bunch of wins, because NASCAR is padding his stats by going from 2 road courses to 7. That's just the facts. Now, Alan Kulwicki was an old driver that probably could have made the top 10 had he been able to race a little bit longer. But the backstory on Alan Kulwicki, in case you do not know, he was killed in a plane crash. I think it was the first week in April of 1993, I believe. He was killed. I think it was right outside of Blountville, Tennessee. He was heading back home from an autograph signing at the Hooters in Knoxville, Tennessee, because Hooters was Alan Kulwicki's big sponsor, and I believe he had just left the Knoxville Hooters, and he was heading back either home or to the racetrack, and died in a plane crash in April of '93. He was 38 years old, which is really young, but not only was he the driver, he was also the owner. So you're talking about a guy having a lot on his plate, being the driver and the owner. But I believe had he not been killed and been able to race 4 or 5 more years, he would have been one of the top 10 drivers of all time. And another guy that got killed way too early, I believe he was 33 years old, and that was Edward Roberts, better known as Fireball. You go back and look at his stats, he had some great stats. But since he got killed so early, we'll never know how great he could have been. That is going to put a wrap on this week's Top 10 Countdown. Top 10 best all-time NASCAR Cup Series drivers, according to me. If you know anybody who watches NASCAR currently or has ever watched NASCAR, please feel free to tell them to watch this video. Give it a thumbs up, give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done so. And as I said, I had a request come in Monday night, and I will try my best to get to that request next week. It is not sports related, so for all of you people that like some top 10 countdowns that are not about sports or wrestling, if I can get to the one I had requested on Monday night next week, it is not sports related. Don't forget about hfotusa.org. That's where you'll find all about homes for our troops, the publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the inception in 2004, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. And again, the website is hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What did the dolphin do when his girlfriend broke up with him? He wailed. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.